everybody, to episode 8 of a pop culture podcast presented by Wash Media, So Many Screens. I am your host, J.R. Hickey, dialing in from Santa Barbara, California. I'm joined, as always, by the lovely, she's a bit of a pistol shrimp herself, Pat. How are we doing today?
I don't know what a pistol shrimp is, to be honest.
We're talking about Project Power today. I think the listeners will understand once we get into everyone's different powers. Pistol Shrimp is the Jamie Foxx power. We'll leave it at that right now. And joining us from Austin, Texas, he's one of the founders of Wash Media. He's the co-host of Circling Back and Too Much Dip. He's got the strongest superpower of them all on his side, the power of the law. David Ruff, welcome to So Many Screens.
Hi, JR. Hi, Kate. What's up,
Hi.
So Many Screens Nation?
How are you doing today, Dave?
Oh, fantastic. It's a beautiful Sunday in Austin, Texas. Heat index of about 112. Stayed indoors all day. Watching this, and among other things. Some sports activities were on television, so I'm feeling good.
It's a good day. It's a great day to have a day. We're happy to have you on. This is our first on video thing. It's kind of a test run. Hopefully we'll do more of these video pods in the future. You guys can look at my giant head. But yeah, today we're talking about Project Power. Project Power is a Netflix original film that came out just on Friday. It stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, stars Jamie Foxx, stars Machine Gun Kelly, who I think we're going to talk about a little bit, aren't we, Tate? If you guys haven't checked it out yet, this is going to be a spoiler-filled episode of So Many Screens. We're going to talk about what happens in the movie, how it ends, where it goes from here. And we're going to talk about some other stuff too. Maybe what Dave's currently watching, maybe some recommendations if you have any, Dave, if we can get to that. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty of Project Power, what were both of your viewing experiences like with this movie? Tate, why don't you start and then I'll kick it over to Dave.
Okay. I watched it yesterday at 4 or 5 o'clock on the laptop. Lights on, so nothing crazy, just pretty basic. But yeah, it was a basic experience. I'm not a big action fan, like I've told you before, so I wasn't totally sold on it. But I guess I'll get into that in a little.
And I feel bad about that because we spent all last week talking about The Boys, the Amazon Prime original show, and how much you liked the superhero violence in that. So that's why I thought, Project Power is the next logical step for Tate, because it's got a lot of superhero violence, which we'll get into. Dave, what was your viewing experience like?
I watched it this morning while drinking some highly optimized coffee in my living room. So it was good. It was a good way to transition my weekend towards work again, because it is technically work, and it was fun.
Yeah. So overall, I watched this Friday afternoon. It dropped Friday morning. I watched it Friday afternoon before we kicked off our weekend. I had to hit the road to do some family stuff. So it's a little bit farther in the past for me. But overall, I think this was a fine experience. I don't think any of the three of us are man, we got to spread the word about Project Power. But I do want to talk about it because there's a lot to unpack. So before we dive into that, I'm going to give you some cliff notes about the movie in case you haven't watched it yet. Project Power, 2020 American superhero film. It's directed by Ariel Schulman and Henry Joost. They directed the 2010 documentary film Catfish and the subsequent MTV show. Ariel Schulman is the brother of Nev Schulman, the host of Catfish. Kate, interested to hear your opinion on that. Project Power stars Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Dominique Fishback. And it follows a drug dealer, a police officer, and a former soldier in New Orleans who team up to stop a distribution of a pill that gives the users superpowers for 5 minutes. I think it's a great premise. Honestly, when I read that tagline, I saw the trailer, I was all in on this. I was like, this is hopefully the future of superhero movies. Violent, easy to understand. You take this pill, you're super for 5 minutes. What the fuck happens? Kate, it wasn't really like that, though, was it? It was kind of all over the place. It was kind of a mess.
It was. And you prefaced this by saying animals had something to do with it. So the whole time I was like, did JR get the movies confused? Because there's nothing about animals. And I was an hour. Yeah. was like, where are the animal powers? I was so confused.
I
Dave,
had
you were
that
gonna say
thought
something?
too. Yeah, I had that thought too. I was like, did I zone out? Did I miss something? And then the pistol shrimp speech, or his little mention of the pistol shrimp really did it for me. It really brought things full circle. That's when I knew.
So you see like 12, maybe 15 different superpowers displayed amongst these drug dealers, cops, henchmen, slick businessmen, and they all apparently live somewhere in the animal kingdom because they're drawing these powers from natural abilities that animals have. So later in this episode, we're going to talk about what superpower we would draw from an animal. I gave you guys that as a homework assignment. It's very confusing because you don't find out that little tidbit of information until halfway through the movie, and it feels like it should have been like right out of the gate. It should have been like a title card, and it just says like, we extracted superhero powers from animals. This is the movie. Because it's all over the place. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, you open on like a shipping container arriving at like the dock of New Orleans, and a bunch of drug dealers standing around, Machine Gun Kelly standing there with his beautiful blonde hair, and he's asking questions. And then you immediately are thrown into this underworld, and you're kind of like, what is going on? What is this, like, this pill? Who is this Jamie Foxx character? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Joseph Gordon-Levitt shows up on the scene. He's a cop, but he's riding a dirt bike, so you don't really know if he's good or bad. There's a lot of confusion.
No good has ever shown up on a dirt bike.
Not yet. Yeah, a dirt bike's a bad look, and he like stole it from police impound. Like, is he already like, he's like the cop with the like, the dirty side to him, kind of? He's also on the drug. He's on power, which is what the drug is called.
Is New Orleans that shitty? Like, am I crazy, or was the whole city run down?
Dave, have you been to New Orleans?
They kind of made it look. Yes, I've been. Oh, I did my bachelor party there. I've been to many times. No, there's some beautiful parts of New Orleans. They kind of did like the comic book style, Gotham-esque, like gloomy. It's shot in like kind of the lesser known parts, but like, yeah, they definitely didn't hit Bourbon or the French Quarter. The Garden District didn't make an appearance in this, but.
My strong money would have been, though, on one of these super powered people making a beeline through Bourbon Street and just like destroying people. I bet they couldn't get the filming rights to something like that, though. That would mean they'd have to shut it down for a couple days. So, yeah, but that's usually what happens in these movies, where the location is a main character. Because New Orleans is a main character in this. You see so much New Orleans sports paraphernalia, and Dave, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is wearing a Saints jersey for 100% of this movie. It is like, hey, this is in NOLA. Get on board with it.
Yeah, I thought that was actually. We'll get into it later, but that was a pleasant surprise. Like, a lot of movies don't go out of their way to try to bring in that reality into, like, especially something like a comic book or superhero type movie.
Kate, what did you think about this, like, underlying hip hop element? The main character, Robin, who's the drug dealer of power, who like befriends Jamie Foxx, doesn't really befriend him, gets kidnapped by Jamie Foxx and befriends Frank, who's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. She's got this like side to her where she's like trying to get out of the slums of New Orleans to be a hip hop star. So you have a couple scenes of her freestyling, and I think they're pretty cool. I didn't think they were shoehorned in. I didn't think they were inauthentic. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought they were good. I mean, I thought it was a little corny at the beginning when she was rapping. Well, she rapping "Power" by Kanye West. It was like, okay, well, I don't know. Yeah, it just seemed a little corny, but I'm confused about her. Like, why? I just need to know more about her backstory, because she's a drug dealer, but she's working with a cop, giving him the drugs. Like, what's she doing? I don't know.
It's very muddled. Her cousin is Machine Gun Kelly, which, okay, I guess you can have a white cousin if you're African American, but it's just not immediately like clear. Her mom's apparently sick, so she's raising some money for her. That's why she's drug dealing. She's a drug dealer with a heart of gold, as always.
I thought that was Aaron Carter. You're telling me that's Machine Gun Kelly?
Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly is a little taller.
Gee, okay, I completely botched that. Dang, let me check my notes here.
When I saw, it would make sense that he could beat Shaq in one-on-one as Machine Gun Kelly's 6'5". Or so.
Newt. What a terrible character name. Come on.
Newt,
I wrote
who's
that
on
in my
who's
notes.
on fire the entire movie. He's apparently, his power when he takes power, the pill, is he has like the Johnny Human Torch like power of fire coming out of his skin.
Yeah, and honestly, probably a top 3 scene in the movie. Like that was sick. Like I was like, okay, this dude's really, he's on fire. This is believable.
So he apparently can harness the power of fire, shoot it from his body, not get burned, but he does have like the after effect on him. So he has like the grotesque half man face. Apparently Machine Gun Kelly had to go through like 5 weeks of prosthetic makeup, and this is early on in his relationship with Megan Fox. So people would see him out and he'd be covering half of his face. People thought that was because they didn't want like people to know that it was him, but it was really because he didn't want to give away his character for the movie. He refused to go through the 5 to 7 hours of makeup every morning. He just kept the makeup on for that 4 or 5 week period. Impressive. I don't know. That takes dedication, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Agree.
Did you guys pick up on how Newt only texts using emojis?
No.
Like,
yeah, Newt's scum.
Yeah.
That just really bothered me. He would just text in like 3 emojis.
Yeah.
And
he's a fuckboy.
Yeah.
So here's the question: where do we stand on Machine Gun Kelly?
I don't know. I sent out a tweet from our account, is Machine Gun Kelly attractive? Which is like, I feel like a question I ask every episode. But someone said he's dating Megan Fox, so he must be good looking. Yep. I don't really care for him. Didn't he cheat on Halsey? Maybe.
That's your question.
I don't know.
I don't think Dave and I know the answer to that question. Dave, unless you're a big MGK stan.
I'm not. I feel like I'm just a little bit older than that demographic that is Machine Gun Kelly fans. I knew he has beef with Eminem. They kind of went back and forth. That's really all I know about him. And he does, I mean, he legitimately in his little IMDb looks just like Aaron Carter. It's freaking me out.
If I saw Machine Gun Kelly on the street, I would not know who it was. Like, I would not be like, that is Machine Gun Kelly.
He's got like the juice, for lack of a better word. He's got like a huge fan base. It's a lot of Texas-based listeners and fans, though. He's Houston-based. I know he was born in Cleveland originally, but he's got a big presence in Houston and Dallas. He's got 5 studio albums, and he's kind of made this weird pivot into acting. If anyone saw the 2019 Motley Crue biography, The Dirt, on Netflix, he played Tommy Lee. Not bad at playing like...
No.
When he doesn't have the tats, he doesn't have this crazy spiky blonde hair. I mean, he certainly wasn't the worst part of that movie, and if anything, was one of the stronger parts, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was gone too soon.
Tommy Lee?
Yeah.
No. Newt. All right.
Yes, Newt.
Yeah, Newt. They didn't really make the most of the, Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, but I liked his role. Like it was a nice early entry character, made some noise. It kicks off like you hope that the action sequences will all be as good as this first fight that he has with Jamie Foxx's character Art, which is an absurd name for a main character of a movie. Art and him like punch it out in like a dilapidated like project, and Machine Gun Kelly is literally on fire, so they are burning everything that they're touching, and they're falling through floors. I thought like the movie was just going to be all downhill from there. And it kind of was. I wasn't surprised in that. Okay, so I don't know. I'm Joseph Gordon-Levitt. There's a little bit of like this like mysteriousness around Joseph Gordon-Levitt, in my opinion. I'm sorry, underratedness. Because every time you see him, you're like, damn, I really like this guy. But he's not one of those guys you think of when you think of like great actors. If you looked at his IMDb, though, he's been killing it since day one. Angels in the Outfield, Third Rock from the Sun as a kid. He goes to Columbia to study in his like teen years and then comes right back with one of your favorite movies, Tate, 500 Days of Summer. And then it's like Inception, Batman, Dark Knight Rises, like LinkedIn. He's legitimately like killing it, but he's just not one of these guys that's like top of mind when you think about successful Hollywood actors.
Yeah, I forgot he was in half of those movies. besides 500 Days of Summer, obviously. But he's aging very well.
Oh yeah, he's a good looking older gent at this point. He's like mid-40s now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I thought he was my age. He does look great. Good for him. He kind of has a Heath Ledger quality to him too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He just turned 40, so he's
okay.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie The Lookout, Dave?
I have not.
The Lookout with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think this is kind of up your alley. It's more your alley than Tate's. It's a 2012 movie where he plays a high school hockey pro who has brain damage, and he's kind of working like I don't know how to say this politically correct. He's working like the graveyard shift at a bank because it's all he's mentally able to do. And he basically gets conned into being the lookout for like a massive bank robbery, and it goes wrong. And he plays this like half out of it, like young teenager who's just trying to like figure it out. And it's really, really good. I highly recommend it for anyone who's looking for like a good, like kind of indie action flick that stars a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I think it takes place in like Minnesota or something like that. But
yeah, I was unaware of that. That does kind of sound like it's up my alley. Was he also in Looper? Was he the one in Looper?
He was in Looper. Looper was an interesting movie.
I thought Looper was tight.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Looper is where he put on the prosthetics to look like a young Bruce Willis. And it was like all this hubbub was made about how like, oh, he looks just like him, but it just really looked like Joseph Gordon-Levitt with like a bunch of makeup on, which in my opinion was kind of a bummer. Did you see Don Juan, the movie that he directed, where he's addicted to porn? That is more up Kate's alley because it's like guys from her neck of the woods.
No, maybe. Yeah. Like this slick Jersey boy addicted to porn. That's a great movie.
Scarlett Johansson.
I forgot about that.
Oh, it's so good. He wrote and directed it. It was his debut. This is just starting to sound like we're just giving a bunch of recommendations based off of Project Power. Let's go back to Power really quickly. So I asked you guys to do a little homework, and that was simply if you could harness the power of any animal for 5 minutes in the form of a pill, which animal would it be and why? Dave, you're our esteemed guest. You greenlit this podcast. Why don't you have the floor first?
Okay. So you gave us some stipulations, and I abided by those. No flying.
No flying. That's like kind of a given. Everyone would choose flying. It would be 3 flying answers, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. I'm going ant.
Ooh.
Because an ant, everybody knows this, can lift like 10 to like 50 times its own body weight. Mm-hmm. Can carry that. It's just a very, very durable creature. And they have like that sense of they have a great sense of community, which is very important in 2020. But yeah, ants are pretty badass, and they're very intelligent, and they're like little aliens. It creeps me out, honestly, the more I think about it. So I'm going to stop talking. But ants, dude, and they're fast. They're very fast for their size. It's just, they got a lot going on.
They're team players too.
Yeah, exactly, man. Just total Marxist.
Ant crawling.
What'd you say?
Sorry, it's a little breaking up for me. If you take a Sharpie and you see an ant crawling and you like draw a circle around it, it'll like be stuck inside the little circle you drew around it.
I've heard that.
Have you ever?
I've seen videos. Like it's kind of spooky.
Have you ever seen like a professional ant colony where it's like a big glass wall and you see the tunnels that they make? It's incredible. It makes me want one, but not enough to actually get one.
You don't want to be ant guy.
You don't want to be ant guy. You also don't want to be
person having a bird.
Yeah. It's just one level below bird guy and 2 levels below saltwater fish tank guy.
I was almost that guy.
I think what about turtle guy?
Were you a turtle person, Tate?
Hell no. I hate turtles. They smell like shit.
They do. Can confirm as a former turtle guy.
I'm a former turtle guy as well, and you don't realize when you get a turtle that they'd live for like 20 to 30 years. So it's a gigantic commitment. It's longer than a dog, which is insane. Okay, so Dave wants to be an ant for 5 minutes. What would you accomplish in 5 minutes, though, as an ant? That's the real question.
It's simple. I go down to Lifetime, and I get under the squat rack, and I just start banging out personal records. I just put all the weight on there. I just get real crazy. People are like, dude, who the fuck's this guy? This guy's wild, man. And I leave after 5 minutes, because it is exactly 5 minutes, and I'm done. Thanks, guys, for having me. So yeah, that's my plan.
Think about how viral you would go. Some of those like viral workout videos, people would be going nuts. You'd make it to like Barstool Sports. It'd be huge.
This guy weighs like 150 pounds. What's going on here?
The camera trickery, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Kate. I'm curious to hear what yours is.
Okay. I actually almost picked ant at the very last second, but I kept my original answer. Mine would be the boxed jellyfish.
Okay.
Because 2 reasons. One, I want my body consistency to be like jelly-ish, and I can move and mold to spaces. And obviously, I want to be able to sting and electrocute anyone that touches me. I think that's like actually pretty good.
So you want to indict violence on people. You want to hurt. Kate's here to maim.
Wow.
I'm just picturing like if I were in this movie, there's a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
So I feel like it'd be a good power.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking ant too, because you can lift all that weight, but I don't have like a game plan for what I would want to do. Mine's just more self-defense. If anyone comes near me, I touch them, they get electrocuted, and then they die. So I think it's a pretty good answer.
The boxed jellyfish, it kills a lot of. I mean, it's like deadly, correct? Like
it's the
one of the deadlier things.
Well, I googled deadliest jellyfish because I knew I wanted jellyfish from the jump, and then I was like, which one is the most harmful?
The jellyfish has always creeped me out. Like just their entire existence, their being. It's just a weird deal.
Have you ever seen those clear ones? Those like just ones you see washed up on the beach. They freak me out too.
Yeah, what is that? What's that about?
It's like a jellyfish that doesn't do anything.
Yeah. What's your purpose?
The man of war jellyfish always freaks me out. It's like the size of a boat. It's like a sailboat, but they're massive. They're out in the ocean, and they could kill a human being instantly.
Oh.
They don't age either. They don't die from old age like every other thing on the planet does. They technically are immortal because of like their biological makeup. How fucking crazy is that?
So how
it is Immortal Jellyfish would be like a sick band name.
Yeah.
Like the band would suck, but the name would be really good.
The t-shirts, think of the t-shirts. Oh my God.
Yeah. New podcast alert.
Yeah.
What's yours though?
Well, as you can imagine, I put a ton of thought into this. The flea. Because the flea's jumping ability is so rapid and so forceful that it exceeds the physical capability of muscle. A flea can jump 150 times relative to its body size, which means I'm 6'1", 6'2" on a good day. I could reasonably jump 10,000 feet straight up in the air and land on my feet. That's not technically flying, but it's a little bit of a loophole where it's almost flying.
Yeah, you set these guidelines, and I feel like you're operating in a gray area here.
You know, I was a high jumper in college. I could only ever jump a certain height, and I wanted, first off, break the world record in high jump, break the world record in long jump, and then also climb Mount Everest in like 2.5 jumps, or jump over like every major skyscraper in every building. You're basically Spider-Man without having to use the webs. So that's it. It's flea for me. It's really interesting reading about fleas. Instead of relying on actual muscle power, they literally like store energy and release it rapidly. It says it's the equivalent of like what happens with a bow and arrow, where you pull it and let go. The energy that's released is so much more than what the actual flea can store or something like that. It's crazy. Fleas are disgusting.
But what if you came across someone with canine advantix?
Oh, that's true.
It's a flea collar.
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Couldn't I just jump 10,000 feet up to like a Boeing 757 and grab onto the wing? I'd probably die.
It's true. I'm picturing like when you said ant under a squat rack, I was picturing like a literal ant. And when you said flea, I'm picturing the size of a flea, not you with the actual skills of the flea.
Yeah, I don't turn into the flea or the ant.
I'm just picturing like the weight being lifted by like a little tiny thing on the ground, and everyone's like, "What is under there?"
That dude is jacked.
I don't know.
What is this?
I don't know where my mind went there.
The good news about jellyfish is after you murder all those people you're planning on murdering, you could then just turn into your gelatinous self and fall into the water and basically disappear, at least for those 5 minutes.
It's borderline human blob.
Yes.
You live next to a lake. I mean, you could just.
It's like, have you guys ever seen? That's true. I could kill all my neighbors, but that's mean. Have you guys ever seen Alex Mack, the old Nickelodeon show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she like turns into jellyfish.
Oh yeah,
that'd be me. Yeah, she just turns into silver goo and goes in vents and things.
She didn't get into like more trouble. She like didn't like wasn't up to. She wasn't up to like any worse things than just like spying on people. If I was a teenage boy and I had to turn into a gelatinous goo, I mean, forget about it.
You can't give teenage boys that power. That is just going to end very poorly for everyone.
Yeah.
Alex Mack might be my first crush ever. She still is killing it. I think she's like on some CSI shows or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not like too familiar with the show. It was a little before my time, but I watched a few episodes in my day.
You know, she was actually 28 when they filmed that.
Are you looking it up right now? Did you just see
that?
No,
that's not true. I made that up. I have no.
While walking
believed you.
After her first day of junior high school, Alex Mack is nearly hit by a truck from a chemical plant. And during the incident, she's drenched with a top-secret chemical called GC-161. It has given her strange powers, which allows her to shoot electricity from her fingers and the ability to dissolve into a mobile puddle of water.
That's like almost exactly what I described. I wanted, but
I would want to do that. Only I would mold into a pile of or a puddle of mud and just play shitty nu metal music.
Sorry. It's good.
It's not. You can ask me to leave. I'm fine.
A comedian friend of mine has a podcast called the POD Cast where they just like review those old albums, and it's
that's good. A great idea. Oh my god. Yeah. Now I'm about to go back down a Nickelodeon wormhole, man. I was a big Snick guy. Are You Afraid of the Dark? That might be before your time. I forget that I'm significantly older than Kate. And probably JR for that matter. But that was my shit back then.
Do you guys remember? Oh, keep going.
No, go, Dave.
I was going to say, do you guys remember Wienerville?
I don't. What is it?
It was so fucking weird. It was this guy. It was, I think, one guy, and his head was like in different puppets. So he'd play like women, and it would just be like an outline of her head and like a little body, but his face. I remember, I was definitely way too young to watch this, but I just remember it was very weird.
It was on Nickelodeon?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I remember this. Are You Afraid of the Dark was legitimately scary, Dave.
Yeah, man. It was like the TV incarnation of the Goosebumps books. And I remember watching them like on Friday night, like in the back room of my parents' house alone. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually scary. Yeah, I'm frightened. It's spooky season, you know?
Wikipedia has the SNIT lineup from every single month of every single year that SNIT existed. Like, the internet is a fascinating place, man.
That's tight.
Did this? Animorphs, that was a show that's like basically this movie. Animorphs is Project Power, except you don't physically transform into the animal like Kate thought Dave was going to be doing with his ant idea.
Yeah, I'm dumb.
The origin story of art.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It is. And I feel I went and read like a recap of the movie earlier just because I was like, let's see what I missed or whatever. And did they not get into it that much? Because like I know they alluded to like I know he had a military background. I think they showed his photos and stuff, but like I don't know. I was reading this recap and I'm like, dude, was this stuff even in the movie? Like, did I have to do extra? Like, did I need the Cliff's Notes to accompany this?
So I think that's the main problem with Project Power. The action sequences are incredible. It's an $85 million Netflix budget. You know that like that money is on the screen. But the actual dialogue and exposition, this is a very explainy movie. You need to explain why he is the way he is, why he's trying to find his daughter. And it's just not translated very well. It's done in like a very... What's that?
Tracy. Like,
yeah.
What?
He's like, where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? And they don't explain that like his daughter got his genetic abilities and then she's being like used as like the source of all of these things and is on a ship on the Mississippi River. They don't explain that until the last 42 seconds of the movie, essentially.
Yeah, I was very confused by that, and like, because I was like, dude, I completely don't understand why they have this guy's daughter. Are they just being dicks? Like, what deal? Is there a purpose to this? And if they're harvesting her DNA or something, right?
And her DNA, this is one of the spoilers, she can heal people. So you would think with that power, why are you then turning it into a weaponized like thing to turn people into monsters? Why don't you just heal everybody on the planet and like make $1 billion off of that if you have to? But do some good with this power. Don't give away these like 5-minute, superhero orgasms, whatever these things are.
That is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that was confusing. I had a lot of questions.
Could you reasonably put a pill in your mouth and then twist it open with your teeth and swallow it? That didn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah, the jaw just doesn't work like that.
The dexterity that would require, and in these high stress situations, it's all very confusing. It's a great premise in a very mixed bag of like scenes and plot points. So I don't know. Is there anything else on Project Power? Do you guys want to move on to something a little more fun?
I mean, I liked when the girl froze to death.
Yeah,
it was kind of cynical, but I thought it was cool.
Good fight scene there. The camera view from inside with the no sound because she was freezing to death. That was cool.
Yeah,
there'd be a horrible way to go.
Oof, freeze from the inside.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Cold as ice.
But,
go ahead.
Sorry, Kate, go ahead.
No, I don't know what the hell I was going to say. I was going to say something about having questions. Oh, I'm kind of cynical. I was a little disappointed that no one died at the end because I really thought we were going to lose someone.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds they all survive that? I don't know. Seems pretty slim.
Jamie Foxx's power is of the pistol shrimp, which is what I called you when we did the introduction. And apparently the pistol shrimp can superheat the water around it to 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hotter than the surface of the sun. It's a way to ward off predators. And so he has that power. He alludes to it throughout the movie and then unleashes it on a boat full of like bad guys at the end of the movie. You got to think everyone in that scene would be dead, including Jamie Foxx, but they all just walk away.
Yeah. I was just like, okay, how did no one die? But
yeah,
that was really my biggest question.
I do want to say one last. Go ahead, Dave.
I think the pistol shrimp thing. Did anybody look that up? Is that true? That's all true. Like I was like, I need Snopes or whatever on that because that seems. How can we even know that? I'd never even heard of the pistol shrimp.
That's true. Like, wouldn't that cause like some sort of after effect with humans? I don't know. That sounds like global warming.
Oh,
I don't know. It's probably people who have a science background are probably like, no, you idiot.
I'm looking at the description now, and there's nothing about this like ability of a pistol shrimp. It just says it has like a giant snapper or whatever. You'd think that'd be like at the top of the page. By the way, this is the most deadly thing. Did this film crew just make this up? Like the pistol?
Yeah, that would be an outstanding leap just to throw that in. Like, hey, let's just throw this in there, just because it kind of fits. Like we're kind of up against it here. Let's just throw something in there. We got to figure out how to end this.
It's got pistol in the name, so that sounds deadly.
I was gonna say they're honestly kind of cute. They're just like this big.
So you mentioned like you're surprised that nobody died. I thought Frank was for sure going to be the one to go. Yeah. I thought Frank was just like, it's like, yeah, he's a good guy, and it's going to be sad when he dies, but he'll die being a hero or something. But no, he just made it through. Frank and his terrible Louisiana accent, which I like him. I like that actor a lot.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah,
but
he's an LA kid though. He like grew up in the business.
Yeah, he was kind of confusing Southern and Texas accents and whatever. Not to be that guy, but it wasn't authentic, you know.
So, Dave, as the host of the newly formed sports podcast for Washed Media, Too Much Dip, do you know whose jersey he was wearing the whole movie?
Oh, I don't even remember what number it was.
37.
Okay.
Kate, if you want to look at your phone for the next like 2 minutes, feel free.
I don't know. I'll just say I don't know.
Do you remember a safety for the New Orleans Saints who played from 2000 to 2008 named Steve Gleason?
Oh, the one, he has the infamous blocked kick in the Super Bowl.
After Katrina.
After Katrina, and he is now bound to a wheelchair, and it's very sad, but he is a source of inspiration for the city. Yes.
Yes, he's a source of inspiration for New Orleans. That's why they used his jersey, got his permission. Joseph Gordon-Levitt invited Steve and his whole family to set. He was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal for his contributions to ALS awareness. A documentary about his life in 2016, Gleason, was released to high critical acclaim. Surprisingly, some footage from that documentary was what kicked off Bountygate. There was footage in the documentary from a January 2011 playoff game against the 49ers where Greg Williams, the defensive coach for the Saints, has said, like, I will pay you money if you hurt somebody out there. And it's used as this device of, like, why Steve Gleason's in such bad shape, but it kicked off this whole thing. He was against including that footage. That footage was then used in the Bountygate trials or whatever, proceedings.
Interesting. I did not know that. I thought it was cool how they tried to capture like a little piece of New Orleans, because that is a town that really supports their, the Saints. But I didn't, the fans that were just walking by chanting "Who dat?" I was like, that's the most uninspired "Who dat" I've ever heard. Like, it's a lot more drunken sounding than that.
And have you been to the Dome?
I have not been to the Dome.
The Dome. So, like, what's the relativity? Like, would people be walking from there to like the main areas? These are like real, these aren't really interesting questions, but I'm just curious.
I wish I could give you, I don't think it probably is walking distance, but I don't think I don't think that's a great move to do at night.
Yeah.
I don't think people really do that, but it's, what is it? A Superdome or whatever? I can't always. Yeah. It would be tough, but I'm the more we're talking about it, like the more I'm shocked they didn't do some kind of cliche Bourbon Street action. Like
it's really, so it's the Mercedes-Benz Superdome right now. Mercedes got that got that tag. But yeah, it's really surprising, and I'm almost like happy that they did that. I think they probably did that for the city. Like, hey, listen, we're gonna shoot something in your city, and we're not gonna shoot where everyone wants to shoot. So, or it also was to save money. Who knows? All right, we've talked about Project Power now for 40 minutes or so. I think that's enough. I would say in closing, I would check it out because it's not a fun hang. It's not a good hang. It's like a bit of an intense hang. But if you're in the mood for something like that, if you're in the mood for something tasty, stylized, a little violent, check it out. Letter grade for me, I don't know, like C-. Dave, what do you got on a letter grade?
I'll go B-. I really like Jamie Foxx. Shout out Terrell, Texas. I'm a big Jamie Foxx. It's Jamie Foxx, so like he's one of those guys that I think is in a class of like I'll watch whatever he does. So it's fine. He's got a good performance. One missed opportunity before I forget. The scene when he is posted up at Church's Chicken, missed opportunity to do Popeyes. Popeyes is a Louisiana thing.
Yeah,
like. Why is he not at Popeyes? Like Church's no one's doing Church's anymore.
What's Church's origin?
I don't know. It might be Louisiana also. I could be wrong about that, but I just Church's is like, for me, it's just as a fried chicken guy, like I never go to Church's.
Headquartered in Atlanta. So you got like a Georgia chicken chain in a movie about Louisiana. That's a no good.
Jeez, ruined the movie for me. I apologize.
It's probably because there's no Popeye emoji. because she sent the church
There
and
it
then
is.
the chicken.
That's it.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Tate brings to so many streams. She brings a teen eye.
Emoji. Yeah, my emoji knowledge. That's sad.
Tate, what's your letter grade for Project Power?
I will give it a solid C.
Solid C. Okay.
Like, yeah, I didn't love it. I actually liked it more than The Old Guard.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie is also like an hour shorter than The Old Guard, which is very important to me. Yes. The shorter, the better. But yeah, I mean, I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That name is a mouthful. But yeah, I mean, a C. No more, no less.
It's definitely going to be up to you to pick our next movie that we do, because I've now picked The Old Guard and Project Power, and they've both been they've been all right.
Yeah, there's some girly movies up on Netflix. I don't know if we will like them, but we will see.
We will try. Dave, before we get you out of here, what are you currently watching? Is there anything you can recommend to the listeners of so many streams? We always like to do a little bit of a recommendation segment here.
Yes, I can. Yes, absolutely. But I do want to say that the reason I always pause before saying Joseph Gordon-Levitt is because I always confuse him with G. Gordon Liddy, the former FBI agent and Watergate.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Character. Like I always will almost call him like G. Gordon-Levitt. And I'm like, dude, I cannot do that on this podcast. I sound like an idiot enough. Like I can't be that guy. So I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, I actually watched something. I started it last night. It's on Amazon Prime, and I finished it today. It is called The Last Narc. The Last Narc. And it is, if you enjoyed Narcos, specifically Narcos Mexico, it is basically a documentary about the Kiki Camarena murder. He was a DEA agent who was investigating the cartels in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And he got kidnapped and killed. And it's really crazy story. And they have some of the cartel figures who turned state witness for the United States. They moved here. They do like pretty candid interviews about it. And it's very compelling if you're into that kind of thing. I think it's like 4 episodes. Each one's like 45 minutes to an hour. And I knocked it out today, man. I was very happy I finished it. It's very good.
Is it a fictionalized show based on true events, or is it like a documentary show? Oh, that's cool.
And it's predominantly in Spanish. And it's a nice supplemental for the Narcos stuff if you were into that. So
very cool. Tate, what's on the radar right now?
You guys are going to make fun of me. I have been binging 2 seasons of Big Brother.
Oh, God.
I know. It's so good. Like, Big Brother is a great show. I'm currently watching season 13, which is from 2011, and I'm watching All Stars, which is currently on.
Yeah, I've heard this season's particularly good because of All Stars.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is they put each of them, all 16 of them, in separate houses for 2+ weeks by themselves. Each person had their own house to quarantine them, make sure they could play. So, yeah, I mean, you're basically quarantined the entire time in the house.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But, people on Big Brother, it's great if you like strategy, backstabbing, physical competitions, mental competitions, social aspects. Like, I'm a super fan.
And it's like some lighthearted.
Yeah, and I'm also finishing The Boys.
Good.
I'm watching The Boys too. I'm on episode 6, so I got to finish. It's kind of gone off the rails a little bit, but we'll see. We will see.
The Boys takes a dip like towards the middle to end part of season 1, but I think season 2 is going to come out with a bang as they have all these new characters. We talked about The Boys last week. We talked about the OC last week, and that's what I'm watching. I'm on episode 10 of season 1 of the OC. Never seen it before. Luke just got shot.
I'm excited for you. This is one that I would love to be able to start the OC over, man.
Missed it completely. My wife is from Newport Beach. I was in Newport Beach yesterday. It was just it's been interesting to watch it, especially with her. She's just like, been there. That happens. That doesn't happen. This is absurd. I'm in. It's perfect. Like, it's just soapy enough, just like, pulpy enough where I can't stop watching.
I love that show.
Hey, can I ask y'all a question since y'all are the so many screens people? My dad is trying to get me to watch a show called Norseman.
Norseman?
Are y'all familiar with Norseman?
Sounds like one of those Netflix shows that's
No.
like,
Okay, and it sounds like it's pretty raunchy. It's comedy, and he's like texting me to watch this show, and I'm like I'm very picky about what I watch, and like he's pitched some other good shows to me. Like he was big on Justified, and
great.
he does a lot of good shows. But I was curious if y'all had heard of it or had done any of it.
So I've seen ads for it. I didn't realize it was a comedy, and it's literally like a show from Norway. So you'll be watching these people speaking in, what is that language? Norwegian?
I think it's Norwegian.
Are there subtitles?
Well, here's what he says. I
Let's hear
will
it.
read this text. I will read this to you. I hope this is not violating protocol.
You're fine.
He said it involves a Viking tribe in the 790s who lived to plunder and pillage. They have Norwegian accents but use modern cliches, such as the woman telling the leader of another clan to, quote, suck the farts out of my ass.
Wait, did your dad write that himself, or did he copy and paste that?
A great question. judging by some of the grammatical decisions, I think he typed this out.
That's so
Oh
funny.
my god, that's amazing.
Never heard of this,
Yeah.
but I'm going to check it out now. I have to at least watch an episode. That sounds off the wall.
Yeah, I think I'm going to check it out. It's different. I mean, I currently don't have any Norwegian content in my so many screens forecast, so I need to scratch that itch somewhere.
Who do we know that's like 50% Norwegian that we could have on to talk about the show?
Probably Will or something. I don't
true.
know.
Will looks like he has some Norwegian in him.
Yeah.
Dave, another great episode of So Many Screens. Thank you again for this platform, for this opportunity. It's been a lot of fun. We're definitely going to have you back at some point soon.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. This has been fun. Man, maybe one day we'll get to do one of these in person or something.
Yeah, who knows? You want to drop the socials for the people?
Yeah. Check us out. Washed Media, at Washed Media on Instagram. I do Circling Back podcast. We've got a sports one called Too Much Dip. Y'all are the newest. Too Much Dip's a little bit newer than y'all, but yeah, everybody go leave a review for all the pods, Club Cool, the Mail-In, Sunday Scaries, all that. Check us out. Thank you.
Absolutely. Woo. Kate, anything else?
Yeah, rate, review, obviously subscribe, tell a friend if you haven't, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at So Many Screens, and I'm going to plug myself at The Real Cap Hat.
Kate does a great job running the So Many Screens social media accounts. A special hello to both Greg and Susan Patnoud, who listen every week. I am at JR Will Do It on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, guys.